Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 19th of April. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm delighted to say we're joined for the first time this week by Stevie Clifford. How's it going, Stevie?
Morning, mate. I hope everyone is well. It's quite a nice day here, so ready to talk about some Ranger stuff, Derek. So all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Ditto down here in Warrington. It's pretty nice also. Right, before we talk Rangers, everybody, just a bit of housekeeping as ever. We have that tremendous offer on the website just now. Now, it ends tomorrow. No, it doesn't end tomorrow. What am I saying? It ends next week. You've got a chance to subscribe to the Rangers Review. Just 50 pence for 2 months' worth of content. That in itself is an absolutely cracking deal, but you also will be you can enter into a draw for a personalised tour of Ibrox with a club legend at the beginning of May. So head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up and get yourself into that draw. Subscribers to the Rangers Review can also enter that draw. You should have been sent a form that you just simply fill in, and then you'll be entered into that draw. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that's totally free. Over 12,000 of you now subscribing, so thank you to each and every one of you. And a quick word as well to our podcast sponsors, Seneca Hair Restoration. You know by now, these are the guys to go to if you're looking for a hair transplant, or maybe if you're wanting to restore some lost self-confidence, then these are the best hair transplant guys in Europe that we're told. So they are the people to go to. And as ever, I've bunked the all-important links in the description box, so do go and check them out. Right, Stevie, a few little bits of Rangers news to get our teeth stuck into on the website this morning. Well, the Daily Mail are claiming that Burnley have been in touch with Ryan Kent's representatives to formally declare their interest in the Rangers star. Of course, we all know that he is out of contract in the summer. It's been said in recent weeks that the newly promoted Championship League leaders plan to scout the 26-year-old. Links have been there for quite some time now, and it's now been reported that they have been in touch with his representatives about a potential move to Turf Moor in the summer. What's your feeling on that, Stevie? I think that there seems to be there was a period of time, it's fair to say, where there was a bit of optimism that Ryan Kent may be one of the players that would be extending his contract beyond the summer. However, I've noticed a sort of change in mood in recent days where a lot of supporters are a bit resigned to the fact that he's going to be moving on, and perhaps it's best for both parties. I know that he was criticised for his Old Firm performance recently, and I think it's perhaps time for not only Kent but a number of players, namely Alfredo Morelos is another one, a shake of the hands and wish him well on his in his next journey. What's your thoughts on the links with Ryan Kent and Burnley?
Well, I had to laugh when you said that they were coming up to scout him. If they're coming up to scout him, then we're absolutely safe. So, no, in all honesty, look, if Ryan Kent's not all in, then he's free to go, and we shake his hand and we say thanks very much. But, League Cup final, a couple of Saturdays ago, Ryan Kent has been non-existent. So we need him to perform at the very, very top of his game in these games, and he's not. And these are games, Derek, where predominantly he has performed in the past, and he's well known for his dislike perhaps of the opposition in these games. So the fact that he's not performing and the fact that he hasn't turned up in these games is a big worry for us. So, I've long since said on this programme, Derek, and when we've been discussing that in the summer there might be some very big decisions to be made and some difficult ones. So I don't think any of us would want Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent necessarily to move for free. Yeah. But in terms of where we're going and this football team and under Michael Beale, perhaps, it is time that they moved on. So the fact that Burnley are interested in him, I'm not overly surprised. They've been rumoured to have an interest in him for a long time. So is Leeds. Leeds are in a bit of turmoil at the moment. I think they're looking a bit shaky. So it depends on their situation before they maybe move or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised to see interest in Ryan Kent in the slightest from Burnley. And do you know what? See if he does go, it's maybe, as I said, it goes back to a wee bit like what I've been saying about the tough decisions and things, but it's maybe just best for everyone, Derek. It's like the Alfredo situation where, Alfredo's numbers and his contribution in that this season probably isn't as bad as we made out in our heads, certainly statistically. But I think maybe now best time for everyone is just a partner of the ways. And we need, Derek, we need a real freshness.
Yeah.
You've got to look at it as well as, there's a reason that we come away from most games saying, you know what, really should have scored a lot more. If you think about Tynecastle, Easter Road, you think about Fir Park, that last 15 minutes when they had so many chances, Derek, and we all say, really, we scored 3 or 4 today, but we should have had 6 or 7. Maybe the reason we can't score 6 or 7 is because these guys just simply don't have it or have it anymore the way that we thought they once did. So it's going to be a big summer. Tough decisions are going to be made, but I trust Michael Beale to be the one that makes them. He said publicly he'd like to keep Ryan Kent, but if Ryan Kent wants to go, as he said as well, then he's not going to stop him. So Burnley links, Derek, and long and short of it, don't surprise me right that much. But in all honesty, I've got to be honest with you, it doesn't worry me or bother me as much as it would have done 1 or 2 months ago. So I've not seen Ryan Kent being in the right place for a long time. Even when you think about the home game before, it was a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Dundee United at home, and sitting with David, and I said, that boy's, he's just not right. He doesn't look right. His whole kind of body language and his whole attitude towards it that day wasn't great. So perhaps there's a thing behind him, Derek. Perhaps he's readying himself, or he just needs a new challenge. And look, all of that is absolutely fine. I've no problem with it at all. I would rather we got money for him and got some of our investment back. But if it's not to be and he moves on, then shake his hand as you would with Alfredo and anybody else that's coming out of contract, and you move on to who's next.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stevie. You need to look at the player's perspective as well. There comes a point in time where, he's been at Ibrox for a good number of seasons now. It's only so long you can play the same team 4 times a season before you want to go and try and look for something new. And it certainly looks like Ryan Kent will be heading to pastures new. Lots of comments coming in with regards to that. John O'Rourke says, should Rangers fight to keep Morelos and Kent cost a fortune to replace them? I think it's poor business savvy to lose both for nothing. I think, Stevie, we'd both be in agreement to that. They're both assets, of course. Letting them run down their contracts is not ideal, and Rangers need to make sure that doesn't happen. Again, we've seen it last season with Connor Goldson. I think took everyone by surprise when he signed that contract extension. But these 2 lads, of course, we know how much Ryan Kent cost. For Alfredo Morelos, Rangers have got their money back and then some with his contribution. But they should have been bringing in transfer fees for those 2. So it certainly stings that they'll be heading out the door. In terms of costing a fortune to replace them, on their day, yes. However, this season, they've been nowhere near their best, have they, Stevie? So it's up to the recruitment staff. And I thought it was interesting. We touched on this yesterday when Michael Beale said in his pre-St Mirren press conference that the players that will be identified, you will be able to identify the links because they have him and his coaching staff would have worked with them before, which I thought was quite an interesting bit of information.
Yeah, Michael Beale loves to tell us something, doesn't he? He's like me when it's coming up to Christmas or a birthday with the kids, and there's an advert on telly with something that we bought them, and I can't help but want to tell the kids, I'm like, look. So, Michael Beale gets excited and he wants to talk football and he likes to tell us what he's been up to. But I've got no doubt that we're quite a way down the line with a few of the signings. But see this, Derek, has, breaking the bank, and we've got to keep them just for the sake of keeping them.
No,
not for me. It's not ideal that they're walking out the door for nothing. I understand that, but we need to remove a wee bit of the romantic sort of sensationalism we have behind these players. And we're so, I think in some in some cases we're more scared about losing them because we don't want to try something new, instead of looking at it and saying, well, what are they actually giving to the team? So, no, with regards to breaking the bank, I wouldn't. It's one of these ones that here's your contract. If you're wanting 40, 45 grand, like possibly has been discussed, then not for me. So the only thing I would say is, and I'm on record as saying this for a very long time, I think it's very poorly planned the way that this has happened for both of them to walk out. And people will say you can't force them to sell contracts, you can't force them out the door and stuff like that. Well, all that's true, but at the same time, we've seen very recently, just over the road, what happens when you don't sign contracts. They're basically put out the door with 2 and a bit years to go. After 55, we should have had the foresight to sit down and properly discuss it with these guys and say, right, where are we going?
Yeah.
And then not actively look for deals, but we could have tried to do something there. So both of their stocks were high at the time, especially Ryan Kent. So as a club, I think there's a possibility there that we've mismanaged the squad management in that. But that goes a lot to my complaints always about Ross Wilson, Derek, and about where we were planning contract renewals and the situation of the squad and stuff like that. So he's now been removed. So it's one of those ones where we've got to just ensure that it doesn't happen before. We should be sitting down in the summer, the likes of Borna Barisic and John Lundstrom, and saying, right, what's happening here? Are you renewing? Do you want to renew? Or you're not part of our conversation going forward? You're getting put on the transfer list here. So there needs to be a wee bit more kind of ruthless, less sentiment behind our decision making, and more, what's good for the club as well as being good for the team.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We'll discuss that shortly. Let's get to a few of the comments that are coming in. First of all, a good morning to, a really, really early good morning to Alan McConnell, who says, good morning, Derek, Stevie and the Bears, 4:30 a.m. here in Florida. Good to have your company, Alan, on this Wednesday morning. Jim McCarroll, just on Kent, says, good morning, lads. I quite agree, Derek. The mood regarding Kent definitely changing. Maybe time for him to go. Jack Salmond raises a point. I think Kent is amazing and want him to stay, but I think for him, a move to Burnley would be brilliant. A fresh start for the lad. Totally agree as well. Vincent Kompany's got them playing some cracking stuff. And I think, of course, we'll be playing in the Premier League next season. That would be appealing to anyone, I think, playing in Scotland. So for Burnley, I can see why they'd be attracted to a freebie. It won't cost them a penny in terms of wages as well. It's a drop in the ocean, the amount of money that teams in England can pay players such as Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos. A lot remains to be seen where Morelos will end up next season. Interesting point from Kev Armstrong as well. Says no Rangers player has been better this season than they were last. Some like Kent and Kamara have been far worse. Kamara's just fallen off a cliff, Stevie, hasn't he? We've not seen him at all, really, since... Am I right in thinking that League Cup final defeat? Maybe a couple of cameo appearances from the bench, perhaps, but he's been jettisoned, hasn't he? I think it's no surprise he was bitterly poor in that League Cup final. Wasn't the only one, of course, but is it likely we're going to see him coming back in? Is he one of the players in the summer that you'd be looking to offload?
Yeah, one of many, really, Derek. But, Glenn Kamara, I think, wanted to go last summer, and it's a real disappointment that Rangers didn't manage to do that. There was interest. I don't think the bid from Frank was anywhere near. Who was it? I think it was Lille, possibly, that came in for him. I don't think that it was anywhere near what we wanted. So, there was rumours of it being 5-6 million, etc. I think if it was anywhere near that, he would have been out the door. Information I have, it wasn't anywhere near that. So it was more likely to be closer to 2 million and not all in one go either. So I can understand why they turned that down. But in all honesty, Derek, I think Glenn Kamara checked out a long time ago. And I've no issue with that. I've no issue with that at all. But we need to do the right thing by the club and by him and move him on, because he's absolutely no use to us sitting in the stands. Controversially, I would rather take £2 million for Glenn Kamara and than get what we are getting out of him at the moment. So Nice, okay, fair enough. I knew it was somebody like that.
Yeah.
But I just think this is where, you know, tougher decisions need to be made around the club, and this is what I was meaning. If it's true that he came to the club last summer and wanted out, etc., we should have facilitated that, Derek. He's absolutely no use to his performances we've been putting in. He's been putting in have been a long way short of good enough. So, listen, I think it just brings a natural freshness. When you look at Todd Cantwell and Nico Raskin, Ryan Jack, midfield and stuff like that, and then you've got Lundstrom there as well. It doesn't include Glenn Kamara anymore, and he's allowed that to happen by his own performances as well. He doesn't perform for Finland like that, so he's one of a few, Derek, that possibly are sellable assets that we need to think about moving on. So, you know, Rangers, everybody knows, it's well documented, we're not going to have 30 million to spend in the summer, so it's going to have to be a lot of sensible business, and we're going to have to generate some cash for ourselves. So guys like Glenn Kamara are definitely sellable assets, and you know, again, you shake his hand, thank him, and if we go, I don't think Glenn Kamara this season has been anywhere near he should be. I would agree with Kev's comments.
Yeah, and that you mentioned players coming into the final year of their contracts, Stevie. And Glasgow Rangers Nation says that we have decisions to make over Borna, Lundstrom and Roof. So all are going into the last year of their deals. Personally, I'd sell all three. And this ties in with a few comments about, I wanted to raise your question towards John Lundstrom at the press conference after the game at the weekend, which was a perfectly fine question, Stevie, but Lunny seemed to take homage to it. Wasn't happy with your tone, apparently. Seeming to suggest that you want him out the door. Graham Edwards says, ask Stevie if he's picked up those Maltesers after Lunny had a go at him. What was that like? You're sat in the press conference, of course. For those, if you've not seen it, folks, check out our YouTube channel. Stevie asked John if there's been any discussions, of course, about a possible contract extension, as he is one of a number of players entering into his final deal. And John Lundstrom, not too happy with the way you asked the question, Stevie. What was going through your mind when he challenged you at Ibrox on Saturday?
Nothing, because he was only joking. He's got a really dry sense of humour. All those that were there at the time would have seen him off camera come up, give me a big hug and a big, embrace and stuff like that. And he says, just teasing you, lad, and thought you were wanting me out the door there and stuff. So it was very funny. It wasn't funny at the time, but what I would say about John Lundstrom is that John Lundstrom, every time you're up at the training centre, every time he sees you, will stop and see and ask you how you're doing, and he's very nice with us and stuff like that. So he obviously seen that I gave him 6 out of 10 on the ratings that day, Derek, and he wasn't quite happy. But I don't think it came across quite the way it was in person, like. So you know, when you watch it back, he's actually laughing and stuff as well. So John's he's just a very dry sense of humour.
That Scouse sense of humour, isn't it? Yeah.
So there was no, despite how it came across, and you know, nobody's even said anything to me. So I didn't realise that kind of folk were laughing about it or whatever. But normally these things kind of blow up on Twitter and that. It didn't, but it was actually quite funny when you were there. And you know, I had a laugh back with him. I was like, you know, so with regards to John Lundstrom, what I would say, you know, is with regards to his playing and how he's performed, I don't think John Lundstrom's been anywhere near the level he can be this season. I think he's been miles off it. Sporadic moments here and there, but genuinely, I don't think he's been there. But you know, a lot of them will say to you that they want a really good rest and a pre-season and things like that. And when you go to a final like we did, Derek, see, when you look at history, even you look at really good sides like Liverpool and stuff like that, you know, these European finals take a lot out of teams, they take a lot out of players. And I just think that there's a bit of that there. I'm not entirely sure whether or not I would agree with the comment that I wouldn't sell Borna. I'm in absolutely no rush to get rid of Borna Barisic at all. No. I would be looking at extending Borna's deal. And there's a couple of reasons for that. There's still question marks surrounding Ridvan Yilmaz. Whether people are prepared to admit it or not, there is. So we need to wait and see what he's going to be like. So keeping Borna around for a year or two for me is quite sensible. John Lundstrom, as first choice, I would probably say no. But we need to think about, you know, where do we really need to improve? So I'm not entirely sure that getting Lundstram out the door is urgently necessary, Derek, if that makes sense. And plus, just in case he's listening, I don't want any more beef with him. So I just think like there's a number of players in the squad that you would want to move on, but I don't think John Lundstram is urgent. I don't think Glenn Kamara, I don't think Borna Barisic is urgent, whereas Glenn Kamara is, if that makes sense, because he's contributing absolutely nothing. So we need to be sensible. We're not going to trade the whole team as well, Derek. You know, we're not going to trade everybody on in the summer. So there's a little bit of kind of realization to be done there as well. So as for Kemar Roof, yeah, I mean, I think everybody would put Kemar Roof out the door, but I don't think there's any chance we're giving him a contract renewal either. I'd hate to be sitting there this time next season, Derek, you know, talking about Kemar Roof potentially getting a contract renewal. So there is the big decisions to be made. I'm not sure that Borna Barisic and John Lundstram are urgent ones that we need to address. Like, look, we need a goalkeeper. We need a centre-back. We probably need 2 or 3 forwards, and we might need another central midfielder just to kind of complement what's already there. If you're looking at losing the likes of Davis, Arfield, Glenn Kamara, you probably need another one in there. So would you be looking at losing John Lundstram as well? I'm not so sure you would be. So it's just about this transfer window or this kind of, we're probably 3 transfers windows away from being sorted, Derek. And there's only so much that Michael Beale can maybe do in the summer. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say, that I don't think that these guys, moving them on will be priority. But as John went on to say, there's been no contract talks as yet. So I still think that's something we need to pick up in the summer. We need to either decide now, take £1 million down south, which I think you would get, or you renew and you keep him about. But that's for Michael Beale's decision. I'll not be asking him about it again, Derek, that's for sure.
Well, Macca raises an interesting point. He says, "Mon lads, do you have your flak jacket ready for Friday's presser, Stevie? Don't hold back," he says. But, it was a comical moment at the weekend. Interesting point on Borna Barisic, incidentally. Spoke to Tom Cowan, who was part of the early 9 in a row sides, folks.
He's a good lad.
Yeah, he's absolutely his top guy. And I asked him about Borna and Ridvan, and he agrees with you, Stevie. He thinks that Borna is deserving of a new contract. I think he's been one of the better performers for Rangers this season. I know he comes in for some stick, and as Tom's comment created a bit of a debate on social media. There's some folk out there that want to see Ridvan being given an opportunity from here on in, and would like to see Borna leave the club. But I'm with you. I think I would look to try and extend Borna's contract. I think he deserves it. And like you say, still question marks on Ridvan until we start seeing him consistently for a run of games, and we can't really pass judgment on him, can we? So it makes sense to keep Borna around. Lundstrom's an interesting one. Like you, he's been off the boil for this season. I think he'd be the first to admit that. Not the only one, of course, but Rangers need a lot more from him. And Kemar Roof, I'm like you, if they can find a buyer, then brilliant. But what club is going to take him on with his injury track record? It's plagued him throughout for much of his career. Kemar Roof, we all know when he's fit and firing, which is very rare. He is arguably, he is the best finisher at the club. Such an intelligent forward, but unfortunately, very much like Phil Hollander, Rangers cannot rely on these guys. So if they can find a buyer for him, I think that might be best for both parties. Kev says, just finishing up on Lundstram, he says, next week's Four Lads man of the match is Lunny. Yeah, even if he's on the bench, I think he's going to be man of the match. Stevie, just bury the hatchet. No, fun and games all round. And Craig says, Derek, have you got Vaseline over the lens? You look younger. That's very kind of you to say so, Craig. I don't think I do, but look younger today, Stevie. Is that something that stands out to you?
You always look good, my man. So no criticisms over here. But if you have got something on your lens, Derek, to do that, send it up to me and all, mate. So I could do all the help I can get. So
Yeah, absolutely. And Vaseline, if anyone's watching from there, if you want to sponsor the podcast, then please do, please do get in touch. Right, let's finish up. There was comments also in the news this morning on Richard Gough on James Tavernier that we'll touch on. He says that he insists that the Rangers captain would swap his 100 goals for his trophy haul. Of course, he netted goal 99 and 100 in that recent defeat at Parkhead. Gough said, I look at Tavernier playing as a fullback and scoring more than 100 goals for the club. That's unbelievable, an incredible achievement, but he's only managed to get a couple of trophies. I would guarantee he'd rather have 10 trophies in his pocket than 100 goals. That's what you're remembered for. I won 18 trophies with Rangers, and I look at our team now and wonder where we are going to get the trophies from. It's been sad for our club since 2012. We were worried about losing everything at that time. Then he goes on to say that Dave King coming in managed to save it. In 2014, he asked me to get involved and we steadied the ship a wee bit. Gerrard was a marvellous personality to get into the club. He came with high standards and we managed to get the championship, but it seems to have gone back a bit. And then he goes on to say we managed to get to a European final, which was incredible with the team that we had. Van Bronckhorst did a remarkable job getting through those European games, and we hope to kick on from that. Then we sold Aribo, we sold Bassi, and we never replaced them with quality. Football is about your players. Interesting point from Gough. I don't think there'll be many that will disagree with him, Stevie. It's all about trophies. I know that it's a remarkable achievement from James Tavernier. And if you haven't checked it out, folks, I spoke to a number of his ex-teammates and a coach that he had at Leeds United in Carlisle back in the day before he joined Rangers. And they spoke very, very highly of him back then as a youngster. It's on the Rangers Review website. However, 100 goals or 18 medals, Stevie, I know what I'm choosing.
I mean, it's not exactly earth-shattering by Gough, is it really?
No.
In terms of, is he just speaking because he's been asked for the sake of it? But,
yeah,
I think when you ask James Tavernier, he'll tell you as well. And it's, there's a lot written about James Tavernier and a lot said about him not being a good captain and not being a leader and stuff like that. But can assure you he is. He's completely opposite. He may not shout and scream and everything else, but Richard Gough was never like that either. So, I don't know, Derek. I mean, it just seems like it makes sense completely. Like, understand what he's saying, but I think, it's not like James Tavernier's been out there saying that my 100 goals are really special to me. He said that it was irrelevant at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think he's championed it. I don't think he's even said anything about it on social media. So it might be something that he's proud of in later times, and he should be. But at the moment, the only concentration for James Tavernier is he wants to win things, and he's all concentrating on that for Rangers. So, if James Tavernier leaves as captain and he's got two major honours to his name, he's not going to be happy with it either. So, no complaints at all.
Yeah.
About what I'm trying to say is I don't think there's a question over James Tavernier's hunger. I don't think there's a question over whether or not he would swap it. Of course he would. So I still hope that there's more to come. It would be a real shame, Derek, if James Tavernier didn't get the medals that he deserves for his efforts at the club. 100 goals is completely ridiculous, to be quite honest, from a fullback. And he just keeps going. So I've had my issues with Tav's performances at times this season. I think he's another one that maybe could have given us more. But we go on about Kent and possibly others not stepping up in big games when it's needed. I don't think you can label that at James Tavernier, to be honest. He's always driving them on. He's always trying to create. He's always trying to get in the box and finish and stuff like that. So I don't think that there's any criticism over James Tavernier or any question that he wouldn't swap his goals for medals, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Ian Thompson agrees. He says, well said, Stevie, it's horses for courses, and relative to the times at the club, Tav is great. Listen, 100 goals is an absolutely remarkable feat for anyone, let alone a right back, which is quite astounding. So, that's that alone is something to be proud of. But like you say, it's not something shouted from the rooftops of, and that he's someone that leads by example. And speaking to, I think there was a lad, Joe Scars, that played with him at Rotherham. He said that that's how he leads it. It was by example. He led other players around him by setting the standards. Not a shouter and a baller, if you like an old school captain, but someone that performs at a high level and he brings the standards of his teammates trying to build him up as well with regards to his performance. Yeah, what
I would say about him is that he's another one that kind of falls into the category of James Tavernier last year between January and the summer literally drove Rangers to a European final.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think that should be forgotten about. I don't think that it should be overlooked either. He was sensational, much like John Lundstrom was in that period where Lunny came in with Ryan Jack just after the defeat at Parkhead, if memory serves me right. They first played together when they beat Hearts 5-0 at home, and they stayed in the team, and the pair of them were tremendous. So I think that there's reason to say, Derek, that the likes of Tavernier, the likes of Lundstrom and stuff like that, maybe you would say that a good pre-season, hopefully they could get back to somewhere where they're needing to be. So it takes a lot out of you when you have a season like last. Pre-season,
no doubt,
questionable. Yeah. There's a lot of things being said about that. So I wouldn't be... What I'm saying is, and what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot more urgent positions and a lot more urgent personnel that need attention rather than these guys. And you can't do it. If you could chip 25 people out, then fine, but that's not how it works in an ideal world. So I just don't think that these guys are involved in the conversation for me about what we need to do in the summer and what needs to happen. So I also think that despite grumbles and despite moans that even I've had about Tab's performances this year, he's nowhere near questionable in terms of what we need to do in the summer and stuff like that. So that's my position with Tav. As for being captain, and a lot of people, it seems to be, as soon as there's a bad result or something happens, James Tavernier needs to be swapped as captain. It's quite boring. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any question that needs to be done. When you're around the place and you see the respect he has and how he conducts himself as well. We've had him interviewed and stuff like that. I don't think there's any questions of how he leads and how he behaves at the club as a captain, that's for sure.
Yeah, I totally echo that, Stevie. I totally agree. Just we'll finish up here. Caroline gets in touch. She says, it's my birthday today. So happy birthday, Caroline. Hope you have a super day. And yeah, lots of comments coming wishing a happy birthday. So that is fantastic news. We wish you a happy birthday from me and Stevie and everyone at the Rangers Review as well. Okay, that'll do us there, folks. Big thanks to Stevie as ever. We'll be back again on Friday, Stevie. If you're free to talk all things Rangers, we'll look ahead to that game on Sunday. How do you see that one going? We'll talk more in detail about it on Friday, of course. But it was interesting that Graham Shinnie, who Aberdeen appealed to, I see you chuckling away there. Aberdeen appealed to his red card he received against Ross County last Friday night, and the SPFL, it's the SPFL, isn't it? It's the SFA deemed it wasting their time pretty much. That they not only never overturned that appeal, they upheld it, and they also added a further game on top of it. Aberdeen have released a statement saying they're in disbelief by the decision. What did you make of it? I've seen that Johnny, he'll be happy with that because he said it was a stonewall red card. I know Dermot Gallagher said that Aberdeen were onto plums and they'd lose their deposit by making that appeal on RefWatch on Sky. So Shinnie won't be taking part in that game on Sunday. Stevie, what did you make of that as a referee yourself? Was it a red card?
I think it's a very close decision, Derek. Genuinely a very close decision. I've spoke to this created great debate amongst all us when we were talking about it. And there's I said what I said the other day. I think it's a very close decision. I'm not sure, Derek, and honestly, see at first, there is a collision. I understand it completely. I understand it's just what it is, but it's not as clear cut as being endangering a player and stuff like that. Every time you go into a tackle, you endanger a player. So I was surprised that they got the extra game put on, and it'll be even funnier if it turns out that fourth game in the split is us again. That would just be hilarious. Because I have to laugh the way like Aberdeen, the comments and stuff, it's all to do with, him not playing on Sunday. Sunday's a completely meaningless game with regards to, what's it going to change? We aren't going to win the league. They're not going to catch us. It's mathematically impossible. So it relatively doesn't matter. So this big conspiracy about he's out against us makes no sense at all. So we can argue either way, or we can discuss either way. Was it a red and stuff like that? Then fine. I don't mind anyone's opinion on that. I just think it was very close, Derek. When you see I did agree with Aberdeen in their statement when they said that previous sort of president, they don't take into account, which I think is quite silly. There's been a few occasions this season when you look at it and say, well, they've got a point to make as well. So if you want to agree with it, the red card, absolutely no problem. I see it completely what everyone's saying at all. I see it the other way as well. I think the extra game's quite harsh, but it's them, so it is quite funny. And with regards to Sunday, how do I see that going? Derek, every time that we talk about it, it's all about what Rangers do. It's not about what Aberdeen do. They will come at us like 100 miles an hour, like it's their cup final. They've got some decent enough players, and they will make it difficult for us. But that's Aberdeen away every single time. Yeah. They could be at the bottom of the league, which I've seen them before, being at the bottom of the league with like Seb Scovdale and stuff like that, and still turn us over up there. Yeah. So I understand it completely what you're getting. It's all about what we do, how we go about it, how we perform, and our attitude on the day. So with regard to Aberdeen away, it is what it is. Yeah. Get up there, get the job done, escape relatively unharmed, and get ourselves prepared for the semi-final, because it's now a one-game season, Derek. So that's all we've got to do, and all we've got to approach it with as well. So in the grand scheme of things, concentrate on ourselves, and we'll see where it takes us. But it's Aberdeen away; it's always going to be the same.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Barry Robson doing a sterling job. He's turned their fortunes around. But yeah, they will be without their captain on Sunday. Graham Shinney's appeal was turned down, so he will miss that game. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Big thanks to everyone for interacting with the show. As ever, we'll be back. Well, I won't be back tomorrow. I'm off. I think it's Joshua and Chris Jack that will be on video duty tomorrow morning. So we hope you can join them for that. And like I said, me and Stevie will be back on Friday to have a big look ahead to that game at Pittodrie on Sunday. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.